Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. I'm at the offices of Google Malaysia today in the heart of KL to explore the new initiatives between Google and the Government of Malaysia, focusing on upskilling and enhancing public service delivery. So joining me on the show to discuss this further is Karan Bhatia, who's the global head of Government Affairs and Public Policy at Google. Karan, thank you so much for being here in your very short trip in town. So I would like maybe to begin our conversation today, getting a sense from you as an industry insider, what you are seeing today globally in the landscape of AI. What are the latest developments in AI and AI capabilities that excite you? I mean, we saw in 2023, that was really the year where generative AI became part of our daily lives. What excites you about AI in 2024?
So it is such an exciting moment, Melissa, in AI. As we think about it, it stands to benefit countries, communities, companies, and citizens. It's the 4 C's, really. And AI innovations are happening every day at somewhat of a faster and faster pace to help each of those. So when you think about it at the broadest level, countries or communities, you think about the way AI right now is doing things to help improve the efficiency of energy production or health, the ability of AI. We're working on some wonderful stuff where AI is helping detect cancers now at the earliest possible stage so they can be treated before any serious complications happen. Or applied more broadly to diseases like tuberculosis and detecting that, or blindness. So exciting big developments. At a company level, we're seeing really interesting trends where CEO after CEO is thinking about ways to deploy AI to make their companies more efficient and to help improve jobs for individuals, to make them operate better and enable them to sort of raise their game. And then lastly, at the individual level, I think everybody has been captured by the ability of artificial intelligence to do things like help you figure out answers to complex questions more easily. Where do I want to go for vacation? I'm interested in maybe skiing, but I only have this week and I want to be able to fly there nonstop. Well, those are the kinds of searches that used to take you potentially hours to do. Now AI can do it for you in seconds. So we see from top to bottom the opportunities for artificial intelligence being extraordinary.
Well, you pointed to how quickly the developments in AI are happening. And I do want to ask you, with how quickly we've seen it evolve and how intense the AI race is now between the big tech companies, that ethos in tech of move fast and break things that has come up with such great things, but when you apply it to AI, is there a concern that this is not the right way to do it? Is AI too important for us to be rushing the rollout and the implementation?
You know, this is one of the reasons why I think we at Google are very proud of the path that we have been on. And in fact, it's not a new technology for us. Google has probably, among all the companies, been invested more or at an earlier phase and has proceeded very deliberately, I would say, with our AI product improvements over time. The fact of the matter is that today, many of the Google tools that people know and love around the world are actually utilizing artificial intelligence. So you go to a Google search, for instance, and start typing it in, and you know how it auto-completes, suggests what the rest of your query is. That's artificial intelligence. Or you go to Google Photos and you want to find all of the pictures that have a picture of your kids, let's say. That's artificial intelligence. Or the way Gmail filters out all of the spam and the bad emails that you don't want. That's artificial intelligence. So I give you these examples to show that a lot of the tools that people love today are in fact AI-based. But we have been evolving the technology here very deliberately, and we do so based on what we call our AI principles, which we adopted back in 2018. And these were very clear guardrails that we put on ourselves to sort of say, look, there are things that we will and will not do with AI. It has to be privacy protective, for instance. It's only going to be used for socially beneficial uses. And we have a process where literally every product innovation utilizing AI gets tested against those principles. And there will be innovations that we won't undertake because we're concerned about possible pernicious uses of the AI. So we're very conscious of the issue that you raised, which is this is very powerful technology. Taken in the wrong direction, it could be dangerous. And so it's really important that there be guardrails and that we proceed deliberately. We at Google are pleased with how that's happened, but there is an expansion, and we see a lot of other players in the field, and we're, as a result, hoping to see a raising up of everyone's standards.
I do want to ask you about the AI race that's hotting up.
Yeah.
How, with the AI principles that you pointed to, where does Google see itself within this race? I mean, are you behind the curve, coming behind the OpenAI chatbot, ChatGPT? Are you playing catch up now and doing all you can to accelerate your position in the race? But taking into consideration, you want to play fair.
Well, look, we are still in early days of, I think, this next phase of artificial intelligence development. And historically, I think what you've seen is Google has sometimes never been the first to market with things, but when we bring our products, they're extremely well thought out, very well crafted according to those principles that I mentioned to you before. And as a result, I think we're very confident that we're going to be a significant and successful player in the AI phase going forward. But I do think that this question of making sure that everybody is sort of operating based on guardrails that are built around principles and built around trust, I think are really important.
Okay, I want to touch on the issue of trust, but let's talk now about why you're in town to announce the initiatives with the Government of Malaysia. So tell me a little bit about the upskilling initiatives, because I thought that was quite interesting. This is in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education.
It is. We're very excited about this. What we are basically announcing is we're going to be working with all of the 161 institutions of higher learning in Malaysia to enable them to access what we call Google Career Certificates. There are going to be 500 for each of these institutions, and it's the program that we feel is like the signature program for enabling people to get into the technology sphere. So whether you have an advanced degree or whether you're just starting out without much experience in technology, you have a dedicated 6-month course in subjects ranging from cybersecurity to user interface design. And it enables people, having qualified after that program, the 6-month program, to get into the technology industry. So, often I think there's this perception that tech is very hard to get into, that these are challenging jobs. These are ways that we've seen for people around the world where we have utilized these programs to get in, get exciting new opportunities and jobs, or even if they're staying outside of the technology industry, being able to improve their skill sets and be able to raise up their careers.
So you've done this initiative in other countries?
We have done it in other countries, and we have actually done it in a more pilot form, limited form here in Malaysia as well, and the results have been terrific, very positive results in terms of people pointing to these programs, this program, as having helped their careers, helped raise
These
theirs.
are young Malaysians, for instance, who are going to enter the workforce with Google certificates, as you mentioned.
Exactly, and young, or they could be mid-career and decide to go back for education as well.
I see. All right.
But it's from our vantage point such a great way to help people get exposed to the technology, exposed to the technology industry, and frankly helps increase the talent pool here in Malaysia, already very strong, but helps increase the talent pool for us and other companies to be able to get even stronger employee base.
And how are you working with the Government of Malaysia to increase that, or to increase capabilities for the civil service workforce? I understand that there is an initiative, a collaboration to embed some of the Google Cloud-based AI power tools into the government operations framework.
Exactly. So this is the other piece of what we're announcing here. I'm very excited about this as well. So many people are familiar with some of Google's sort of signature products, things like Gmail, Docs, Google Meet. What they may not fully appreciate is that this is those same tools are available in a professionalized form for the workspace. And that's what we're announcing today, that this is going to be a personal agreement that we've reached with the government, available to the full suite of government agencies and ministries. So we're very excited to see that expanded availability of this set of tools. These are tools that have many advantages, but one of them is that they really allow for collaborative work. For those of you who have used Google Docs, you'll know it's an incredible tool to be able to co-create things. And I say this as a former alumnus of government myself. One of the challenges of government is it's not always easy to work together, right? You have different ministries, you have different agencies. The ability of these Google tools to enable that collaboration is really where we see the advantage coming out.
Okay. I can understand the wanting to break down the silos of government departments, government agencies, but are there concerns in implementing AI-powered tools, cloud-based AI-powered tools within the public sector? And this comes back to our conversation about trust, right? If there is an existing trust deficit, if citizens already lack trust in government, they certainly won't be forgiving if government makes mistakes in the adoption of AI.
Yeah, look, I think trust is paramount. Trust is paramount. It's paramount for government. It's paramount for Google. When we consider our value proposition, trust is at the core of it. So you're exactly right, which is the reason why the solutions that we designed for government in the cloud space, in the tools that we're offering, are designed really for government. They are designed to be extremely privacy protected. They're designed to safeguard the government's data so that they really are only accessible by the government itself. So we do place a very, very high premium on that. And then I think trust more generally is developed from years of being at the forefront of handling cutting edge technology and cutting edge data and data protection, which is obviously what Google brings to our clients.
Just to follow up on that, when we think about building trust and capability at the same time, because you're trying out something new, you're still learning adoption, you'll likely make mistakes or might not utilize it to the full potential, and that can erode public trust, especially if it's government who's doing the implementation. How do we think about building capacity and public trust simultaneously?
Look, I think this is why we've adopted the approach that we've had, and this goes back to a memorandum of understanding that we entered into at a company-to-country level, signed in November with the Prime Minister Anwar in the U.S. In November, that there are different pillars to what Google and the government need to work on together. One is around greater adoption of cloud technology, and another is around skilling, is around enabling that understanding of how do you use these full suite of tools. There is a learning process that derives from it, including understanding what the models are doing and how they are fast evolving and how do you stay ahead of those developments. So I think putting together the greater adoption of the technology, which is necessary. Every government around I travel around the world getting to meet with many governments. I can tell you they are all excited and thinking carefully about how do they bring this new technology in to be competitive.
That's interesting because, you know, the public sector, governments in general tend to be perceived as always lagging behind when it comes to adoption of any kind of new technology or new digital adoption, lagging behind the private sector, let's just say. Is that not the case for AI?
Look, I think certainly the private sector we see adopting it well. We've been thrilled here in Malaysia to have some significant new partners here, companies like Gamuda, Bank Mamualat, you know, that are adopting this technology in their day-to-day work. But governments, it will surprise you, are also thinking very seriously about how do we utilize these to be more efficient. You know, there's a lot of demands on government. I say this with a lot of sympathy to my former government colleagues. There are a lot of demands and sometimes limited resources. And if technology can be a driver for providing public services better, smarter, at a lower cost, Governments want that, and I see that with the Malaysian government.
Is that different from when you were in government? And I think about how some governments were kind of behind the curve when it comes to digitalizing, adopting more digital frameworks. But with AI, everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon, and we have to think about how long we've had. We haven't had, may have been around for a long time, but in the public sphere, this has only come to our consciousness almost recently. Yeah. Is that surprising?
Look, it is new technology, and government is not always first to move it. But I will say that the set of expectations that governments have, not just for their own services, but that how they are enabling other institutions to come up with solutions. So think about agriculture as an example, right? You know, farmers around the world have always struggled with questions of how to produce crops in ways that allow you to improve production, even just a small amount. You know, AI today, you attach a camera to a tractor going through a field, it can spot and run video of the plants against a database instantaneously to tell whether that plant is a weed or is a crop, and it will shoot out the herbicide just at the weed. Think about that adopted at scale and the benefits that that stands to offer for agricultural production. Now take that and multiply it to energy, to health. So if you're a government worker, if you're a government leader, you're thinking to yourself, if I'm not at the forefront of this, our whole industry, our whole competitiveness is going to be challenged. So I think today, if you're in government, you're thinking about adopting this technology because you want to be at the forefront as a government in helping the private sector and civil society meet those challenges.
What about those that fall in between the cracks of private sector and civil society? I'm thinking about the social enterprises, the non-profits, or even smaller businesses, SMEs, micro SMEs. Malaysia's economy is essentially made up of SMEs and micro SMEs. And I'm thinking about how they can also be included, or not left behind, in AI adoption.
You're speaking to our heart at Google. We love small businesses. We ourselves, 25 years ago, so just our 25th anniversary, we started in a garage. And I will tell you that feeling of what it's like to be a small business, feeling like you're tiny and there's so many challenges out there. But think about what you need when you're a small business starting up. You need some basic office software. You need maybe to be able to try and reach a customer placing an ad. You need to place yourself on the map, literally the map of where you are, and perhaps provides a little bit of cloud services to support you. All of that is what Google brings to small businesses. We'd like to think of ourselves as the principal enabler of small businesses in Malaysia and around the world.
Okay, so if I could get you to give some advice to the small business owners who are watching today, who are thinking, I want to get on board the AI train. How do I do that?
I'll give you an example here from Malaysia. So we worked with a wonderful woman, Sarah, based in KL, who had started a bakery. And this was the beginning of COVID. COVID, by the way, was an enormous spur to technological adoption by many companies. So Sarah started a bakery, but it was just a physical brick and mortar bakery. COVID hit, no business, nobody's coming in anymore. She turned to Google. Google had worked to enable her to connect with customers that she'd never found before, not just in KL, but around the country and around the world, to be able to design her cakes to meet the needs of customers, get them out same day to customers around the world. And today is a thriving business, going from a one-person business to a small business more broadly. Work with companies like Google, work with the tools and technology that we make available, often for free for many of these small businesses. That I think is, but lean in. Don't be, the concern is, I think for a lot of folks, it's too hard, it's too distant. This is where our skilling and training courses, again, offered for free, come to the fore.
Do you think AI has a bad rap? I mean, in the last year or so, the conversation or the debate around AI, the impact of AI, centered mostly on people losing their jobs or how it's going to impact employment. It's understandable that people are worried, but how worried should people be?
Look, we've put out a number of reports on this, and to be sure, AI is going to change jobs. It is going to change the workforce. But we believe, as has been the case with every significant new technological adoption, that society and the market is going to evolve and it is going to change. You know, back in 1950, 80% of the job classifications that exist today, if you break up all the jobs in the world, didn't even exist back in 1950. So people are not sitting at home, not working. They're working. They're working on different things. That's what AI is going to do. AI is going to enable different kinds of jobs, and hopefully, we think better jobs for people.
And do you think that this will be the year where we think about regulation? I mean, it's great that tech companies have their own internal AI principles or processes, but should we be thinking about more state regulation?
Look, what we have said on this, and this predates a lot of the more recent discussions, we have said AI is too important not to regulate. But it is also too important not to regulate smartly. So we do believe that raising up some standards here, creating some guardrails is important. And we put some of our principles out there as an example of some of the things that could be done. There are a number of regulatory initiatives underway multilaterally around with international organizations. We think that's a great impetus as well. And we hope to see alignment among different countries around what those standards are. Because I do think a potential risk is that you have 1,000 different sets of regulations, and that ultimately is going to be a drag on the innovation. But good sets of thoughtful AI principles, I think, is an asset.
So who should lead it? Who should be overseeing artificial intelligence companies who develop AI solutions for the public? And I do have to ask you, I mean, Elon Musk called for a third-party referee. What do you think?
Look, I think there have been some really interesting international initiatives around this. The one thing I very much believe is this is not the world of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, in a couple of different respects. One, the world has changed, and countries around the world now have a seat at the table appropriately. And so there needs to be a very broad grouping of countries that weigh in on this. And the second is that this is not, unlike technology of 2 generations ago, technology that is really controlled by governments. It's not. The private sector is really at the forefront of the innovation here. So what I can tell you is the solution needs to be global, and the solution needs to be a public-private kind of partnership on this. And we've seen some good initiatives out there.
Okay, well, we'll have to just watch the developments in that space. I do want to bring the conversation back home in the couple of minutes that we have left. I just want to learn from you a little bit more about the vision that Google has for the partnership with Malaysia. I know, I think there was an announcement for an in-country data center that was announced a couple of months or last year. Any updates you can share about that, and where do you see this relationship going in the future?
Look, first of all, I would say we're very excited about Malaysia. We've been in the country now for 13 years, a little more than 13 years, grown our presence substantially. We see it as a terrific place when you think about the technology talent, when you think about its location within sort of the core supply chains around the world. So the bottom line is we're excited and committed to Malaysia and looking to grow. As I mentioned, we've had an exciting year last year in terms of expanding partnerships and agreements with Malaysian companies, working in multiple sectors. Tourism, just as one example, where we've got this great new partnership with Malaysian Airlines. Also been working with AirAsia on bringing more people here. So this is all to say a lot of growth opportunity. On the question of the data center, one of the reasons I'm here is to continue to have some conversations around that with the government. Those are significant investments. We're excited about thinking about how to move that forward. It takes a little bit of discussion sometimes to get there, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Okay, so hopefully this is not the last announcement from Google.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
That's all we have for you on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.